morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, we need to look at Triple B and say, actually, is this the worst set we've had in a while? Now look, when I say worst set we've had in a while, I mean from a competitive point of view, in terms of good playable cards. I am extremely excited about the Fuecoco, the artwork rare, and to be fair, there's a bunch of awesome artwork rares, as there always are. I love that my boy Clodsire is getting an EX in only the second Scarlet and Violet set. That makes me very happy indeed. I'm a huge fan that Oswaldo Cato is back doing stadiums, and we have another stunning Cato stadium. But I mean, in terms of playability, right, I sat down to do a top 10 cards from this set, and I might still do that later on. But the thing that struck me as I sat down to do a list of the top 10 cards from this set was, you know what? This is not a great set. Like, I've been having a good look, and I've been chatting to a bunch of friends, the lovely Stephen Kent, the lovely Joe Merrick, the lovely Primal Lugia, people that know their stuff. And I was having a little bit of a look and going, well, you know what? The number one card here is probably Meowscarada. I think that's probably the best card in the set. And I don't think it's a bad card, don't get me wrong. I'm talking in terms of Pokemon. We'll get to trainer cards in a moment. But in terms of Pokemon, I think really kind of like the top card in the set. You're talking about Meowscarada, and it's fine. You know, it's got a really nice ability, lets you discard a Grass Energy and drop 3 damage counts on one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. But it's kind of like a rubbish Decidueye. Now, don't get me wrong, I am fully aware that Decidueye let you drop 2 damage counters, and this lets you drop 3 damage counters, so in theory this is better than Decidueye. Yes? No! Because you see, Decidueye just let you put the damage any way you like. This only lets you put it on the bench, and actually not for nothing, but when Decidueye first came out, and I know they banned it because it was way too good, but we did have Forest of Giant Plants, which was full-on broken. It just let you evolve your grass Pokemon whenever you liked. That was a deserving ban, ladies and gentlemen. That was a very deserving ban. But my point is, it initially looks better than Decidueye, and then you think about it for a while, and it's a fair bit worse than Decidueye. And you know, it's 2 colourless energy, 220 to a Pokemon that's got any damage on, and obviously your ability will help with that. It's fine. I don't think it's bad. I think it's fine. But this is the best card in the set we're talking about. Like, I really like Clodsire. Clodsire's got literally the same ability as Garbodor. You get to poison your opponent's active Pokemon if you've got a stadium in play, yay, etc. And then you've got the Sableye, that if your opponent's Pokemon is poisoned, you get to do 90 damage for a single energy. But these are like the top tier Pokemon in the set as far as I'm concerned. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, if there is something you're seeing in this set that I'm not seeing, please do let me know. Like, there's a bunch of really interesting cards. There's the Hydreigon. Once during your turn, you can look at the top 3 cards of your deck, choose any number of energy you find, and attach them to your Pokemon in any way you like. But that's a stage 2. There's the Tinkaton that lets you discard a card from your hand and then draw 3 cards. But that's a stage 2. And I have a theory about Triple Beat. Alright, here's my theory. It is designed for a meta where stage 2s are legit viable. Because if you ignore the fact that they're stage 2s, and I'm fully aware that is a gigantic if, but if you ignore the fact they are stage 2s, Meowscarada EX is a really good card. Hydreigon is a really good card. Tinkaton is a really good card. And then I actually start liking a bunch of the cards from the set. You just have that gigantic caveat that you've got to ignore the fact that they're all stage 2s. And I'm not really sure I want to. Because honestly, there really isn't that much more in terms of Pokemon. Now, I will say, once we get towards your trainer cards, there are some better cards. You know, Artisan, that lovely Kato Stadium I showed you earlier, says that once during each player's turn, they can search a deck for a basic Pokemon with no rule box and put it onto their bench. That's a really good card. For non-rule box decks, that is awesome. Superior Energy Retrieval is getting a reprint in this set. And that's a very good card that is almost certainly going to see a whole bunch of play. So that's actually really good, and that is something that is worth getting a little bit excited about. This is something we like. There are supporter cards that I can absolutely get behind here. So something like Dendra lets you put a card from your hand to the bottom of your deck and then draw until you have 5 cards in your hand. It's not amazing, but it's fine. Clavel lets you search your deck for 3 basic Pokemon, each of which has 120 HP or less, and then put them into your hand. So again, this is really good for setting up those littler decks, those smaller, your evolution decks, things of that nature. And these are fine. Luminous Energy is probably going to be big. It is one of any kind of energy, but it does not stack. So if you have any other special energy cards attached to the same Pokemon, it provides a colorless energy, which I actually think is a really, really well-designed card because it's really useful and it's going to help a bunch of decks, but it's clearly quite far away from being broken. And I like it. There are good things in this set, but I don't think there are great things in this set, if I'm honest with you. There are no, even the cards I've shown you, I think there are a bunch of them that have a bunch of potential, but I don't know if any of them really jump out to me as great, as really good cards that are going to really impact the metagame. I mean, Luminous Energy is probably, and I can't say for certain, not till we really start playing with it, and the set's not out yet, as I record this at least, and, it's probably Luminous Energy. There are other cards that could end up being good, but it's probably Luminous Energy. And that's kind of my problem here. And then I started looking around and going, well, what other sets have we seen that weren't very good? Again, I'm talking purely in terms of competitiveness here, which other games made just like no impact on the meta. And then I started looking at mini sets, and actually we've had some good mini sets. Like, if you look at Pokemon Go as an example, it's a small set. It's clearly a tie-in with Pokemon Go. It's clearly a set which is designed to get Pokemon Go players buying cards. Radiant Charizard alone makes that set. Radiant Charizard is a redonkulous card. It does 250 for 5 energy, but 4 of those are colorless, and you remove 1 colorless from the cost for every prize card your opponent's taken. And actually that becomes, it's a single energy 250 if your opponent's taken 4 prizes. That is a ridiculous card that sees a ridiculous amount of play and should, because it's great. Solrock and Lunatone weren't good, but they made a fun deck that some good players actually played at the World Championships. So I think that needs to be borne in mind. Ditto has a lot of potential. Just using attacks of other basic Pokemon, that Ditto's really very good. That's something I do think you need to kind of bear in mind. Pokestop saw quite a lot of play as a way to get your item cards, and this is a mini set, ladies and gentlemen. For a mini set, Pokemon Go was good. What's ridiculous is the celebrations. The 25 card celebration set actually ended up being like a legitimate set in terms of competitive play. Mew has turned out to be a staple in a bunch of decks for getting set up. That's a really good card. We saw Flying Pikachu V Max doing really, really well. It literally won the World Championships. So that's pretty good. Evil Tal is a staple in a bunch of decks for getting rid of special energy. And let's not forget there was a very small period of time where Zacian V being able to accelerate psychic energy was genuinely playable. And that's a mini set. Celebrations was not supposed to be a good set. It was supposed to be, as the name might suggest, a celebration of 25 years of the Pokemon TCG. And yet it ended up being really, really good in terms of competitive play. So what do we have in terms of bad sets? Again, talking purely competitively, I have a box of Triple B on order. I am psyched to open my box of Triple B. You are going to see a happy, excited Wassy when I get to open it, all right? Let's be perfectly clear here. But in terms of cards that really did not make much of an impact, I mean, Incandescent Arcana springs to mind. If you look at the Pokémon from Incandescent Arcana, I mean, probably the best is a Alolan Vulpix V-Star. I think that's the best we saw. And I think it's fair to say that hasn't made much of an impact. Although you could make an argument for Radiant Jirachi. Oh, by the way, I know I'm talking about Japanese sets here because that was a Japanese mini set. But I'm going to be using English images here because they've got the English text on them. So they were from Incandescent Arcana, but it's just where we've got English images, it just makes more sense to use them. Just in case anyone's confused as to why I flicked from using Japanese images to English, we've got English here. Seems weird that we wouldn't go and use them, would make it a little bit easier. So in terms of Pokemon, that set wasn't great. But in terms of trainers, it gave us Serena. And Serena is a phenomenal card that is an absolute staple in a whole bunch of decks because it's both draw power and gusting. And let's not forget that V-Guard Energy has been an absolute staple in some of the best decks in the format. And I think for those two cards alone, Incandescent Arcana has kind of, well, it's done its job, so to speak. Although, like I've said, there are some trainer cards in Triple Beat which could end up being this good. Time will tell, but I don't know, ladies and gentlemen. I'm a little bit skeptical. We will have to wait and see. Before that, I think we can go back. If you're looking for the last Japanese main set that really just did not make any kind of impact, it's Astonishing Volt Tackle. What basically became Vivid Voltage over here. Drapion V. Which, to be fair, Drapion V is a stunning card, which has seen a huge amount of play. It is a phenomenal counter to Mew, but that's like it. That's basically what we got, was that. And if that's good, oh no, we also got Snorlax. Snorlax was pretty good. And also, as I'm sure a bunch of you have realised, I'm afraid I slow rolled you for a bit there. I'm sorry. That's the bad Drapion V. That's not the Mew counter Drapion V. That's the terrible one. Although every so often you will come across somebody on PTCGO or PTCG Live who's accidentally put the wrong Drapion into their deck. And it's honestly kind of funny. Snorlax. Snorlax is like the best thing we got out of this set. It was a bad set competitively. And that's kind of where we are. Bearing in mind, we're talking about a situation where we've seen these mini sets, these extra sets, these special sets, which are really more to grab casuals and promote the game than they are to really push the game, when they are actually having pretty good cards that are pushing the meta forward. It becomes really interesting that we have a few sets that aren't. Like I say, I think Astonishing Volt Tackle might be up there. No, it definitely is up there. And Incandescent Arcana is kind of there. And now we've got this. Whereas Scarlet and Violet is going to, and to be fair, that is being combined with a rotation, completely turn the metagame on its head. I don't think Triple Beat is going to make much of an impact. You got a few trainer cards, and maybe somebody can make the Meowscarada work, and maybe we're going to end up being surprised. But I think where we are at the moment, ladies and gentlemen, is that this is a set which is going to do very little. I'd love to be wrong, though, and I'd love to hear your opinions in the comment section. To go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk Pokemon and card games and Pokemon card games, all kinds of fun things. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, join a Discord and chat with us about Pokemon or anything else, and just generally have an awful lot of fun. Oh yeah, and, over on the Discord, you can get yourself a shout out on the channel, like the lovely Kiridan, who's been a supporter of ours for a while now and seems to be a very lovely person. So thank you very much for the support and for being a very lovely person. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross and you've been watching PTCG Radio.